Today we will be drawing the Alolan Vulpix. We will need a pencil, a black marker of some kind. I'm going to use a skinny Sharpie. You could also use a black color pencil, a regular black marker, a black pen, or anything of that variety. And we will need some very light coloring tools. The Alolan Vulpix is mostly white, which I'm going to grab out in case we need to do some blending later. She also has some very light blue. I have this beautiful icy blue called Cloud Blue. And I'm also going to grab a medium blue for some of her details as well, such as her ears and her eyes. I might also want a gray today for some shading that we might want to include later. I'm going to move my colors off and marker off to the side now because I will only need my pencil to begin with. I'm going to begin with some simple shapes to start my Vulpix with today. And I'm going to have my Vulpix looking straight at me today to really show off her hair on her head and her tail. I'm going to start with her head. Her head is a rounded triangle pointing down, like so. And today her ears are going to come off to each side. She has large fox-like ears. And I can begin to add the detail inside of her ears as well. I'll create one on each side. Next, I'm going to create the top of her mane that comes down on her top of her head. She's very fluffy, so we have some rounded lines for the top, and it comes down in the middle of her face, kind of like a mohawk or like a bang, and points at the end. Next, we're going to create Vulpix's large eyes. They are almond shaped, which is a pointed oval. And they fit right between her hair and the side of her face. She has rather large eyes. In her eyes, we're going to create some reflections. She doesn't really have pupils quite that we see, but she does have some reflections that show the different shapes and colors in her eyes. So I'm going to create some half circles to show those, and when we add color later, they will really show that off. Last detail for her face is her nose, which is an inverted triangle, a triangle pointing down, and it's slightly rounded just like her face. Now that I have all the features of her face, I'm going to kind of fix it up and make sure it's the shape and size that I want it to be. I might use my eraser here, and for example on mine, I'm just going to fix the chin so that way I shift it more right under her nose. Just like so. And that completes her face today. Next, we're going to build her body. She is sitting down, looking right at us today. So I'm going to build an imaginary line coming down from her chin, and I'm going to come down as long as I want her body to be, which is going to be about here today. This is going to be where her feet join each other. I'm going to bring a leg up that fans out, that has a little bit of an angle, and at the bottom of this leg I'm going to create a foot or a paw with some rounded toes, 3 rounded toes. And then I'm going to bring another similar line up for her shoulder. And this is going to join right into her head. And then I'm going to create the opposite effect on the other side. Her feet can join in the middle, or they can have some space between them. And this is going to be her chest in the middle here. I have her shoulders a little bit more rounded than I would like, so I'm going to slim those down before we add on the back legs. We always like to double check our work, especially when we are at the pencil planning stage. This is just a stick eraser that I like to use when we erase a lot, so that I don't use up the whole eraser on my pencil. You could use the eraser on your pencil or a separate eraser as well. That's much better for her front legs. Next we're going to add her back legs coming off to each side. She's sitting down like a dog, or like we mentioned earlier, a fox. I'm going to bring her a rounded hip out from either side. And then I'm going to create a paw just like we did in the front. This paw is going to be a little bit shorter to show that it's behind the front paw, like so. It's also going to have 3 toes, just like our front paws. Last but not least for our pencil plan is, of course, Vulpix's beautiful tail. We're going to have it fanning out right behind her. So I'm going to come about the middle of her head, or her face, and I'm going to fan out with some rounded lines her big, beautiful tail. And then bring a curve to meet her bottom. I'm going to do it the same on the other side. Awesome. Vulpix will have some details in her tail if we would like, so we can add those next. Some lines and some swirls. I might add some in her hair up here, a swirl, and also around her tail. So I'm going to start to separate some of these areas with some little lines to show some dimension and shape. And on these very last ones down here, I might add a little swirl because she has some curls at the end of her tails. Beautiful. Alright, our Vulpix is ready for some color now. But first things first, like some traditional Pokemon imagery, we can create an outline for our Vulpix. So I'm going to put my pencil away and grab my black outlining tool. And I'm just going to go over my lines that we've created. After I go over my marker, with my marker, I like